A Winter's Daydream is a visual novel by ebi-hime released on October 15th, 2018. It's available on PC, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PS Vita, and Nintendo Switch. For this review, I played on my Xbox One X. I don't have much experience with visual novels, but the few I've tried usually have some sort of interaction that allows the player to make choices which can affect the story and allow for multiple endings. In A Winter's Daydream, however, there are no such interactions. The story is already set, and all you do is read it like you would a book and press A to go on to the next page. In A Winter's Daydream, you read from the perspective of 19-year-old Yu. Not you as in yourself, but the character's name is Yu, spelled Y-U-U. So Yu has lived in Tokyo for about a year, and he goes back home for New Year's to visit his parents and his sister Otoko, who seems to really hate him and behaves like a spoiled brat. After getting really annoyed with her, Yu decides to visit his grandmother for a couple of days to escape the house. He and his grandmother spend the day together, but the next morning, Yu wakes up and goes to the kitchen to find that his grandmother has transformed into a young girl. That's the basic premise without spoiling too much. The story was alright. It's a sweet story that had a deeper meaning behind it, mostly about Yu learning about his grandmother and realizing that he actually never took the time to get to know her before. He remembers how when he used to visit his grandparents as a child, he was always bored and just wanted to play his Game Boy and couldn't wait to go back home. But now, when he sees his grandmother transform into a young girl, he realizes that his grandparents are also human beings that used to be young and beautiful, that had dreams, goals, and desires. He realizes that his grandmother gets very lonely and sad now that her husband has passed away, and how much she still loves him and misses him. The point of the story is that we shouldn't take the people in our lives for granted. Life is short and time goes by quickly, so we should invest as much time as we can in our parents, our grandparents, and our siblings and try to restore broken relationships while we still can. It's a story that's very relatable and makes you think about what's truly important in life. There is a subplot where Yu tries to mend his relationship with his sister, but I didn't find that part of the story as interesting or relatable. A downside to the story is that there's a lot of unnecessary dialogue throughout this visual novel, and parts that have nothing at all to do with the progression of the plot, but is just filler, and I found those sections to be quite boring. The characters you will be interacting with the most are your grandmother and Otoko, your sister. Grandma is very likable. She is sweet and kind, and after she transforms into a young girl, she plays some tricks on you, and it's fun to get to know her throughout the story. Otoko is the complete opposite, however. She is extremely annoying, and I really hated her personality. There are also side characters that you briefly talk to, like Yu's parents, a bus driver, a cashier, and one of Otoko's friends, but there's not much to say about them. Grandma is by far my favorite character and the most interesting, which I guess makes sense since the story mostly revolves around her. I found the presentation to be a bit lacking in A Winter's Daydream. The animation looks decent, however, there are scenes where you are talking to people and it doesn't even show them. In the scenes where Yu is talking to his parents, they are never shown. After reading all the way through the story, I don't even know what they look like. Another time, Yu talks to a bus driver and it doesn't show him either. But then later you're in a store talking to a cashier and it shows her, so I'm not exactly sure why the developer decided to animate certain characters and not others. I feel like Yu's parents are more important to the story than a cashier that appears in only one scene. Another thing I didn't like is when you are talking to characters that are shown, they only have two expressions for all the scenes they're in. It doesn't matter if they're happy, sad, annoyed, excited, angry, or whatever. There's only two animations for all of their emotions. A few more facial expressions would have been nice. I did like the backgrounds, however. I thought they were done well and detailed nicely. But the best part of the presentation is definitely the music. I really liked the tracks played in the different scenes. They suited the story very well, and I enjoyed listening to them. A Winter's Daydream took me 3 hours to read through, and I'm glad it wasn't longer than that. The meaning behind the story was great and really stuck in my mind, but the story itself wasn't, and I found myself bored throughout most of it. A good story should leave me wanting more, but while reading through this, I just wanted to get it over with. For that reason, I can't recommend A Winter's Daydream, and I give it an overall score of 4 out of 10. I wish I could give it a higher score, but I just can't. It's a cute story with good music and decent visuals, but I wouldn't play it ever again or recommend it to anyone. However, if you think you might like it, go ahead and check it out. It's not very expensive, and just because I didn't like it doesn't mean you won't. That's it for the review. Thank you for watching. Moltok, out.